So coming from Engadget, China takes back top spot in latest supercomputer ranking. LineShine beat the USA's Al Capitan system and exceeded 2 exaflops for the first time. So, China man coming in and giving American man the backhand when it comes to technology. That is what this story is supposed to be about, right? The Chinese are coming in and they are taking back the top ranking for supercomputers. Now, for me, when I take a look at this at first blush, it's kind of a bit of a nothing burger, right? So there are these supercomputer rankings out there where all of these different countries try to compete to have the biggest and fastest supercomputer out there. And if they have the best supercomputer, that is supposed to mean something. I think this is kind of one of those things where you take a look at a lot of things in the technology world, and there's a lot of rankings, and there's a lot of charts, and there's a lot of this type of stuff. And at the end of the day, it doesn't honestly matter for most people, right? I think about this I've been watching a lot of Gamers Nexus recently. They just went to Computex, right? They go to Computex, they test a whole bunch of different hardware, and then, oh my God, it's 30 minutes of charts, man. Holy shit. Oh, Lordy, you just sit there and you're just watching chart after chart after chart after chart, and it's showing how this system does better and for this particular thing, and this system does better for this particular thing, and the reason that this system is best is because charts, man. Oh, gee, Lordy, it's so many charts. And the issue that you run into in the real world is that these charts really don't matter in a practical standpoint most of the time. I talk about this back when I had my computer repair company. We used McAfee for years and years and years, right? And the reason that I used McAfee as an antivirus solution, now to be clear, McAfee of 2006 is not McAfee of 2026. I want to be crystal clear here. But here's the deal, right? Every year, the companies would go out there and they would test all of these different antivirus products. And within the top three, it was Norton and McAfee, and then some other random company would be in there. Like Home Trend was in there once, Kaspersky was in there once, like AVG or whatever was in there once. And here's the deal, right? When you're running a company and you're installing hundreds or thousands of licenses every single year, look, you just need to find a product that works well. You need to find a product that you feel comfortable warranting, right? If you come into our store and we clean up your computer, we give you a 30-day warranty that your computer will stay up and running for at least 30 days. Which, hey, look, it was Windows XP era, so that was a pretty good warranty back then, right? That's what you're really worried about. So all the different vendors out there, one of the things you have to be thinking about from a support standpoint is that they have their own quirks, they have their own problems, they have their own weird little issues going on. So here's the thing, right? We learned all the quirks that McAfee had, and so then we just stuck with McAfee. This is one of the things I talk about, which is one of the stupidities of the modern world with artificial intelligence, where you hear about all these AI competitions, right? One day Anthropic is on top. The next minute, OpenAI is on top. The next minute, DeepSeek is on top. Oh, Lord, boys and girls, that's fine. That is 100% fine. Great. Go out there and compete. But here's the thing. When you're implementing technology into your infrastructure, you are not swapping that crap out every 2 weeks, right? That's cool for the kids. That's cool for the 18-year-olds out there. But when you actually implement shit into production, once you put it into production, it goes legacy. And once you go legacy, you almost never go back, right? And so that's one of the things to be thinking about with all these numbers and things. The actual value of numbers in the real world is there's a value there, but it's not the horse race people want to make it out to be. What I find more interesting about this whole thing with China taking the #1 slot is how they did it. how they did it with the particular technology that they used. Because the interesting thing now, right? China is under embargo. China is not able to get access to many GPUs. China, right? The Western world is, for whatever reason, trying to isolate China with, this computer AI development. And so they have been able to take number one spot. Them taking number one spot is a nothing burger. How they did it is a tectonic shift that people really should be much more concerned about. So we take a look at this. China has taken the world's fastest supercomputer crown for the first time since 2017. So again, to be clear, they've done this in the past. This is, whatever. Somebody has the fastest supercomputer as of 2 minutes ago. LineShine from the nation's National Supercomputer Center hit 2.198 exaflops of performance. Oh my God, 2.198 exaflops. I thought they were going to get to 2.195, but they got to 0.198. Oh my golly. Beating the previous champ, El Capitan, at 1.809 exaflops, located at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory in the United States. LineShine, a previously unlisted machine, is the first supercomputer to exceed 2 exaflops of, quote, sustained double precision performance using CPUs only, according to top500.org. China's new machine was able to beat the US counterpart despite technology embargoes because it doesn't rely on GPUs like other leading models. Instead, it's designed around a custom 304 core processor with 13.79 million cores running at 1.55 gigahertz and linked by a proprietary interconnect. It draws around 42.2 megawatts of power for an efficiency of 52.07 gigaflops per watt. Quote, it's an impressive system, Top 500 organizer told the New York Times. Quote, they upped us by developing a system that is not reliant on GPUs. And so this is the thing that I've been screaming about for a long time, right? In the founding documents of the United States, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. You know what would be lovely? I'm just saying this would just be an absolutely lovely concept. What if the politicians of the United States actually read our founding document, didn't speed read it, didn't have their interns read it? What if they actually sat down with a cup of coffee and read that information? Because the thing that is really important to understand is that human beings are human beings, right? Many times we are products of our circumstance. That is it, right? China was a basket case for a long time. And so the products out of China for a long time were a bit of a basket case, right? They've streamlined things, right? They have real, actual industrial policy, factories, universities. As Jensen Huang says, right? 50% of the AI scientists in the world literally are just in China. The rest of the 50% are amongst every other country in the world, right? So when you restrict people from the ability to access certain goods or services, right? If they have the ability, they are going to figure out a way to get the goods and services that they need. And most likely, when you're dealing with China, it means they're going to build that crap. So literally, by doing the embargoes, all you're doing for China is you're delaying their access to getting to certain levels of technological development. You are not stopping them. The other important thing to understand about this is that they are building their own systems, right? There's this idea, right? Manifest destiny. We created this technology, ergo we own the concept. Right? That's not how math works. That's not how science works, right? Basically, with our system, we do have intellectual property protections. So there's this idea that you can own a concept, but the reality is none of that works very well in the real world. And so you simply have the Chinese. They want to push their civilization forward. We are trying to stop them from their civilization moving forward. And so they are just finding new routes to move their civilization forward. Shocker. it is absolutely surprising that human beings want to improve their own civilization, and if other civilizations try to stop them, that's not actually going to work out very well. It's insane. It's almost like China, man, is a real human being too. So, anyways, again, this is what just frustrates me about these policies. Though China managed to seize the top spot, the new ranking now boasts 5 systems, beating the exascale threshold, with 1 in China, 3 in the US, and 1 in Germany. Oak Ridge National Laboratory's Frontier moves to number 3 at 1.353 exaflops, while Aurora at Argonne National Laboratory holds the 4th spot. Jupiter Booster in Germany holds the 5th spot with exactly 1 exaflop. Top 500 noted a great deal of architectural diversity with this year's list, with different supercomputer models using Intel, AMD, NVIDIA, and other architecture. Quote, there is no single dominant technology path to leadership class computing. Instead, vendors are pursuing a variety of CPU, GPU, APU, and custom accelerator approaches. Holy backcrap. Are you telling me there's multiple ways to get to any particular solution with technology? You might want to tell our politicians that. China has often kept its supercomputer designs under guard due to government restrictions. However, LineShine has developed without public funding, so its designers felt they could submit it to top 500 tests without issues. I also kind of think this is kind of an interesting thing, like with the restrictions. So basically, what we're being told here is because LineShine developed this supercomputer basically on their own without public funding, they feel like they could go into the global community and say, hey, look at this amazing computer that we made. It does beg the question, though. And think about this. So if they took the number 1 spot now, using a CPU-only architecture and their own homegrown interconnects and all that kind of stuff, and this is the system that we are allowed to know about, it does rather beg the question, what are the systems we're not allowed to know about? And now, to be clear here, I mean, the United States, has secrecy too, right? Every country has secrecy too. There are supercomputers in the United States that are most likely more powerful than what is publicly documented. But the interesting thing to be thinking about with this is, what are the more powerful systems that China has that, again, are using a different architectural style? And what happens, again, as we move forward, you have the China stack and you have the Western stack. You have the idiocy of what's going on with Western politics. You have the Chinese policy of, you got credit card, you can buy our crap. Where do you think this is going to go at the end of the day? Again, I don't think you have to be a rocket scientist to do 2 + 2 is probably going to equal 4. So what do you think about this? What do you think about China taking the number 1 spot for supercomputers in the world? Do you think that's amazing? Like, oh, Eli calling it a nothing burger. That's ridiculous, right? But again, more interestingly, think about this. They were able to take that spot with all of the embargoes and all of the stupidity that is currently going on being focused against them. Do you think that is the thing that we should all be crapping our pants over? That would be my argument. But I don't know. I'm just here in my basement. So what do you think about this? What do you think about China taking the top spot? What do you think about them taking the top spot with their own architecture? What do you think this... Oh, Lordy, what do you think this bodes for the future? Put your thoughts down in the comment section. If you like these episodes, do remember they're on Spotify and on Apple Podcast. Link is down below. If you want to follow me on LinkedIn, there's a link down there too. And with that, see y'all later.